to Folk from the Boat episode 112. I hope you're very well this week. This week you can see I'm out of the studio, but I have lots of pictures and things to share with you for that. So do hi thee to Facebook and Instagram and places like that. And back on the boat. So it's time to move the boat. I'm going to take some chimneys down so that when we reach bridges we don't stop and cast off, and then come and experience the River Lee with me. So this is a pretty long rope. I have it so long so that if I need to, it can reach right the way to the back of the boat. But since you guys are coming with me, you're going to help, so I won't need that. Something else, you'll see I haven't had the heart to lose the Christmas tree yet. It's still so green. Okay, we're coming adrift. Better get on board. Okay, we're traveling south down the River Lee today, and we're just in Stansted Abbots at the moment. You'll see we're going to pass a boatyard where they've just craned a boat into the water, which is kind of exciting. It's terrifying if it's your own boat. Yeah, so this one we just saw swinging through the air and looks very successful. It's not off the crane yet, but staying afloat. So happy days. That's a particularly sarcastic sounding duck. Okay, let's take you down here. We'll probably stop around Fieldsweir, which is just after the junction with a different river, the River Stort. But let's see where the river takes us. Okay, by the way everyone, I have a little task for you. Whilst we're out on this cruise, could you have a look out for somewhere really pretty? Because since we're making a new album, I think we're going to need to take some photos for the covers. So something by the river. The album will probably come out in June, I think. So yeah, maybe that doesn't look too wintry. Maybe we can find some reeds or something, and then I can just get really cold pretending it's summer. See what you can find. You have a have a mission. We're supposed to drive on the right, but I guess nobody's told those swans that. And I think just over here is starting to look like a good place to moor. So I'm going to see if we can come in behind those. There's like two boats moored together. I'm going to see if I can get in behind them. It's always a little bit of trial and error when you're coming into moor, because even though there are boats around, it doesn't necessarily mean that the water's deep enough everywhere. So we'll kind of slink in and see if we get stuck. I don't know which is more exciting, watching the boat go in or watching my face as it as it goes wrong. Okay, yeah, that's going to work. Here we are. So first thing is to get off with the midline. I don't think there's any special reason for calling them lines rather than ropes. And just make sure the boat has stopped. Okay, I'll just talk you through what we're about to do. So there's going to be 3 stakes at least going in because the ground feels a bit soft. So 1 for the mid, the back and the front. So we will be whacking those in, tying some knots, and then we should be good for a little while. Last part is chimneys back on. Then we are all set up. There. Okay. Come inside, everyone. I'll put the kettle on and we'll sing a song. So it's lovely to be back on the boat after a few weeks away in the studio, basically. So actually, most of that time was with a different project, and I had just 2.5 days to put down the whole of the next solo album, but it was a really good experience, and I can't wait to share it with you. I've given you a little challenge earlier on ideas for photos, and the other thing the album is going to need is a name. I have a working title of Hatching Hares, which is kind of fun, and it refers to a lyric in When I Was a Little Girl. But if you've got other suggestions, I should take them into consideration. So this song was a very late comer to the album. A couple of weeks ago, I was performing at the Green Note, and I asked the audience if there was anything angry, because basically this is going to be a nice album. There's lots of really lovely songs on it, and I just thought maybe there would be something angry that we could just add to it, because one of my favorites from Anchoress was Blue Blues and Blind Drunk. And Tony Birch, hi Tony, if you're listening, thank you very much for the suggestion, came up afterwards and said, have you done A Stitch in Time? So this is a song that's based on a true story around the 1960s in Hull. It's by Mike Waterson of that family of singers, and it outlines a story of domestic violence. I feel that there needs to be a few disclaimers for the song, because there is actually domestic violence in the song, and that is sort of the one that ends the cycle. I don't think that's a good thing to promote myself, and I don't think it's a good thing to do now, but I can see that at the time it was sort of a genius answer to this woman's problems, and she probably had no other answers available to her. So feel free to judge and say what you think. I'm never sure about these things. So here is A Stitch in Time. Oh, and back to names for the album. I'll put what I recorded down in sort of any order and see what you think, see what you can come up with. Okay, here it is. Oh, there was a woman, and she lived on her own. She slaved on her own, and she skivvied on her own. She had 2 little girls and 2 little boys, and she lived all alone. But for her husband, he was a hunk of a man, a chunk of a man, and a drunk of a man. He was a hunk of a drunken skunk of a man, such a bruising bully of a husband. For he would come home drunk each night. He threshed her black and he threshed her white. He threshed her within an inch of a life. Then he slept like a log, did her husband. One night she gathered her tears all round her shame. She thought of the bruising and cried with the pain. Oh, you'll not do that ever again. I won't live any more with a drunken husband. But as he lay and snored in bed, a strange old thought came into her head. She went for the needle, went for the thread, and
and went straight into her sleeping husband. And she started to stitch with a girlish thrill, with a woman's heart and a seamstress skill. She bibbed and tucked with an eye and well, all around her sleeping husband. Oh, the top sheet, the bottom sheet, to the blanket stitched, to the mattress through. She stitched and stitched for the whole night through, then waited till dawn and her husband. When her husband woke with a pain in his head, he found that he couldn't move in bed. Sweet Christ, I've lost the use of my legs, but this wife, she just smiled at her husband. For in her hand she held the frying pan. With a flutter in her heart, she'd given him a lamb. He could not move and he cried, "But damn, don't you swear," she cries to her husband. Then she threshed him black, she threshed him blue, with the frying pan and the colander too. With the rolling pin, just a stroke or two, such a battered and repenting husband. And she says, "If you come home drunk any more, I'll stitch you in and I'll thresh you more. Then I'll pack my bag and be out the door. I'll not live with a drunken husband." Oh, isn't it true what a woman can do with a thread and a thought and a stitch or two? He's wiped his slate and his boozings through. She don't live any more with a drunken husband.